Erling Haaland is officially back and already in my Game Week 23 team, but the big question is, do we captain him this weekend, and do I need to add Kevin De Bruyne also to my FPL team? I'm going to be discussing all of that in today's Game Week 23 team reveal video, so as always, if you can drop a like on the video, it is always massively appreciated, aiming for 300 on this one, and as always, if you're not a subscriber already, please do consider smashing that button. So that's enough waffling, let's get into today's video. So first up, how did I get on in Game Week 22? Well, it's safe to say an absolute disaster. 48 points for the team and a big red arrow from around 170k to 230,000. It just wasn't my day. I didn't own Kevin De Bruyne, I didn't own Richarlison, and of course I didn't own Julian Alvarez. So it was always going to be a difficult game week, and it proved to be so. Looking at the team, the only ones that can put their hands up and say they performed for my team were Foden, Saka, Watkins and Dominic Solanke. I was really happy with Solanke's goal last night. Otherwise, it could have been even more of a disaster for Game Week 22. So not an ideal situation, but the good news is I already have Erling Haaland in my team. Is that good? Is that bad? You'll be the judge of that. I think long term, I'm probably just going to be glad to have him in my side, but it's not a good game week. But the important thing is not to panic. When you have bad game weeks, don't be reactionary. Don't be making early transfers based on emotion. Process it. And we're going to do that in today's video. So 48 points, a big old red arrow, but things are only going to get better from here. So looking ahead to Game Week 23, I want to discuss why I think rolling your free transfer this game week is actually quite a powerful move. While others are going to be bringing in Erling Haaland and other players, rolling the transfer could be the play and something that I am looking at right now for my personal team. Now, I've highlighted 3 reasons why rolling the transfer could be a good thing. So first up, as you can see, I've put Villa versus Chelsea 4th round replay. Now, they're going to be playing this next midweek, and the winner of this is going to have a real big impact on FPL in the future. So the predictions right now is that Villa will beat Chelsea at Villa Park, and I probably would, if I was a betting man, lean towards Aston Villa. Now, whoever loses that game will play in Game Week 29. Now, I'm going to put a graphic up on here. This is from Ben Crellin. Make sure you do follow him on Twitter. And as you can see here, the games that are guaranteed to play in Game Week 29 include Fulham versus Tottenham and Burnley versus Brentford. All the others have the potential of being a blank. Now, because Villa versus Chelsea is the 4th round replay, whichever loses plays in Game Week 29. So, for example, if Chelsea lose, the Arsenal-Chelsea game is guaranteed to play in Game Week 29. And this is really important because it could be the difference between selling Bukayo Saka and Cole Palmer or keeping them in your FPL teams. And likewise, if Aston Villa were to lose, then the West Ham Villa game will play in Game Week 29 and Arsenal versus Chelsea will become a blank. And all of a sudden, the FPL landscape looks very, very different because if Villa lose, then players like Watkins become fantastic long-term, Jarrod Bowen, Areola in goal for your team. So this 4th round replay actually has quite a big impact on our decisions going forward. And that's why I think having 2 free transfers after this game is a real solid move, because I'm a manager that owns Saka, Cole Palmer, Areola, and I really need this game to go in a certain direction to know whether to sell or keep those assets. Now, the second point that I've highlighted on this screen here is the possible Liverpool-Luton double Game Week 25. Now, for those that don't know, double Game Week 25 has already been announced for both Brentford and Man City, and blank Game Week 26 has already been announced for Chelsea, Spurs, Liverpool and Luton, and that is due to the Carabao Cup final between Liverpool and Chelsea. Now, because of that blank Game Week 26 and Game Week 25, the space in between the fixtures, there's actually an opportunity for them to push back the Liverpool-Luton game into Game Week 25, effectively giving them a double of Brentford away and Luton at home. And that is an amazing fixture. But at the time of recording, we haven't had the announcement of double Game Week 25 right now. A lot of managers have been bringing in Liverpool assets with the assumption of the double. But until we actually get it, we haven't got any guarantees that it is going to happen. Now, because Burnley at home is in Game Week 24 for Liverpool, it still is really favourable to bring in these Liverpool assets. But if the double doesn't get announced, I don't think it is as attractive as what it once was to bring them in, because they will play Burnley at home, Brentford away in Game Week 25, and then blank in Game Week 26. And all of a sudden, Liverpool triple up doesn't seem as essential as what it could have been with a double Game Week 25. Now, If we do not get it between now and the Game Week 23 deadline, we definitely will get it between now and the Game Week 24 deadline. And it's just another reason why I think maybe having 2 free transfers is actually a really powerful position. Now, last up, I think it's quite nice to know the Man City team for Game Week 23. We had the big controversial thing with Kyle Walker getting benched. A lot of people brought him in as their guaranteed Man City defender. And also, we need to know how the integration of Erling Haaland is going to be in this Man City team. I've discussed it in my preview video. Make sure you check it out. I do think Haaland is essential this game week because I'm actually expecting him to be benched once again. So almost rolling your transfer this week, knowing how the team's going to look with a fit Haaland, fit De Bruyne, fit Alvarez, and what's going to happen with Kyle Walker might make your decisions a little bit clearer going into Game Week 24. Because for my team, I have one more Man City spot available, and I don't know whether to allocate it to somebody like a Kevin De Bruyne or maybe someone like Kyle Walker if Game Week 22 was just one of those random benchings and he'll return back for the team. So because of these 3 reasons, I think rolling your transfer, if you can, is an amazing move this weekend. So now for our understanding for double Game Week 25, blank Game Week 26, and of course the future blank Game Week 29, I want to look basically at Game Week 23 in isolation, especially for my team, because I've discussed about how rolling the free transfer is a really powerful position. So now I need to look at Game Week 23, the fixtures that we have, and really understand, is there a team, a player that I don't own that could really, really hurt me this week, that could benefit me long term? So taking a look at the fixtures right now, Everton versus Spurs, I only have Pedro Porro. I know a lot of the community have Richarlison. But realistically, looking at that fixture, I don't think it's amazing. Could Spurs put 3 goals against Everton? Yes, they definitely could, but I don't feel like it is a desperate transfer this week. And also, I think Maddison is actually a fantastic differential against Richarlison right now. And because of that blank Game Week 26, I just don't really feel inclined to be buying Spurs assets going into Game Week 23. Brighton Palace, Eze Elise looking fantastic, but I don't really feel like this is a fixture that I want to be tearing at my team to bring in either one of those players. So they're going to be off the radar, and Brighton right now, with only 3 wins in their last 20 Premier League games, don't really feel like that is the form horse to be buying from right now. Burnley Fulham, we can just skip over. Newcastle Luton, very, very interesting. Gordon is already in my team, and it looks like Isak and Callum Wilson are going to be unavailable due to injury. So we could see Anthony Gordon being deployed as a forward. I don't actually really like that. I think he's better off the left with a focal point down the middle. But, you know, it is what it is in these situations. Gordon up front can't be a terrible thing. And it does look like Harvey Barnes could be returning from injury. So we could see some real pace in that front 3 against this Luton team. Now, a lot of people are talking about the defenders at Newcastle and whether to look to invest in the likes of Kieran Trippier. And I do think it is a decent investment, but for me, it's still quite a lot of money to pay for Kieran Trippier when we need to focus our plans on double Game Week 25 and how to navigate Game Week 26. So Newcastle definitely on the cards once again, but I don't think we need to tear up our teams to bring in defenders. So for my team, I'm avoiding Newcastle outside of Dubravka and Gordon. Sheffield United versus Villa, a tricky place always to go against Sheffield United. I have Watkins, don't really feel like I need to bring anybody else from that Villa team right now. And once again, we need to know about Game Week 29, whether Villa play or not, because if they do, I might target a defender from Aston Villa like an Ezri Konsa. Looking at the Sunday games, I already have investment in Dominic Solanke for Bournemouth and definitely a captaincy choice for those that are looking at a bit of a differential outside of the Man City players. I am not against that at all. Not really investing in any other players from there. Chelsea at home against Wolves. I already have Cole Palmer. Don't really feel confident in investing in the Chelsea defence. Nkunku definitely on the radar, but with a blank in Game Week 26, Chelsea are just an avoid right now. And the same would apply for Wolves. I don't really think there are options apart from Neto that we would like to have in our sides. Man United, fantastic result against Wolves with that last minute winner against with Mainu, but I don't really feel like investing in them. I have Garnacho right now. Yes, Rashford could come in. Yes, Bruno Fernandes, but they feel very, very luxury moves. Don't think it is a priority for our FPL teams. But interestingly, Man United could be a great team as they do have great fixtures and play in a lot of the game weeks where we are going to have problems. So definitely keep them on your radar longer term. West Ham, Areola, I already have Bowen. I don't really feel like I need to invest for that game week. Arsenal, Liverpool, don't need any more than I have right now. Darwin Núñez, Jota, the talk of the town, but against Arsenal at the Emirates, don't feel like it's a good entry point for either one of those players. And last up, Brentford, Man City. Brentford, always a tricky team. I expect them to score against Man City. Is that enough for me to buy Ivan Toney? Absolutely not this game week. And for Man City, Kevin De Bruyne could absolutely come in, but I just don't feel like I necessarily need to rip my team up to bring him in. And then, of course, the defenders. Kyle Walker, I would love to own. But with the benching in game week 22 and also Man City's frailties defensively, don't even think it's a guaranteed clean sheet. So looking at the fixtures, I don't think there's any team or player that I'm desperate to bring in this week that is going to outweigh rolling the free transfers. So with that said, let's go into my game week 23 team reveal and show you exactly how my team is going to look. Okay, so taking a look at the goalkeepers and defence, Dubravka at home against Luton is just obviously the fixture to play. Yes, Luton have caused problems for teams, but at St James's Park, I'm expecting a comfortable Newcastle victory here as they're slowly getting back to themselves with no cup competitions. They can actually just play a decent 11 who have been rested week in, week out. So hopefully we're going to see some stability at Newcastle, especially in their defence. And looking at my own defence right now, it isn't looking very good. Trent away against Arsenal. Now, a lot of talk about Connor Bradley, who's been fantastic, but this is Trent Alexander-Arnold. I'll be astonished if he doesn't come back into that team, whether it be at right back or in centre mid. It's not a great fixture. Am I expecting a clean sheet? No, but there's no world where I sell Trent with a possible double in 25, and also he's just a brilliant option, full stop. Gabriel at home against Liverpool. Now, this is the kind of spot in the team where it could be a Man City defender, but as I mentioned, I don't really think Man City are going to keep a clean sheet this weekend, and I think rolling the transfer, especially for a defender, is better than doing it this week. So Gabriel at home against Liverpool, it is what it is. Maybe we do get another set piece goal from him. And Pedro Porro away against Everton, again, not expecting a clean sheet. A very difficult player to bench with him being so fantastic on the bonus points and so offensive in this Spurs team, but one to monitor with the Spurs players returning like James Maddison. Is that going to negatively impact Pedro Porro later down the line? I need to do a bit more research on that one. So the defence, the goalkeeper picked themselves this week, but it doesn't look fantastic for clean sheets. Moving into the midfielders, first up Phil Foden away against Brentford. Now, originally I thought Phil Foden was essential for all FPL teams, but I'm starting to get a little bit worried about his FPL value longer term. The return of Haaland, De Bruyne, Alvarez means I do think Phil Foden could be a bit of a sacrificial lamb for Pep Guardiola. Not necessarily for minutes, but for position. I'm going to put the heat map here. Now, we have his heat map against Burnley, the one that's basically obviously a little bit less active, because the one compared to it is between game weeks 1 and game weeks 21. So we have obviously a lot more information between game weeks 1 and 21, but you can see Foden picking up a lot of central areas, whereas against Burnley, not necessarily in the places that I want him. Very, very wide. His heat map is basically predominantly on that right-hand flank with occasional touches in and around the box. But if this continues on this right-hand side, I don't think we need him in our FPL teams at all. Yes, he could accumulate sometimes assists or goals, but he's never really been a high goal scorer in this Man City team. And if he continues to play out wide, and maybe Bernardo Silva comes in as one of the double pivots alongside Rodri, I think Phil Foden is definitely expendable. But for this game week, no, I don't think it is necessary. But later down the line, maybe a Phil Foden to a Kevin De Bruyne, if money is not an object, then maybe I could make that move. But for now, he is fine. But please do have eyes on Phil Foden later down the line. Cole Palmer at home against Wolves, hoping for a Chelsea response, but realistically, they're such an unpredictable team. The only one that I do feel comfortable owning is Cole Palmer being on penalties, so I am hoping that he can step up this weekend. Saka at home against Liverpool, not ideal, but Saka is just a player that I want to own long term. And of course, if Chelsea lose that fourth round replay, he will then play in game week 29, and he will just be a long term hold for everybody. And Gordon at home against Luton, no problems there whatsoever. So far, the team's looking okay. Not incredible, but not enough to justify making a transfer. So taking a look at the forwards, as I mentioned, I already brought in Erling Haaland going into game week 22, so I don't really have the headache as a lot of FPL managers about whether to bring him in or not. Now, on reflection, because this may help people, if I knew that Haaland was going to only play 20 minutes in game week 22, I probably wouldn't have brought him in, because going into game week 23, I still think there is a little bit of doubt about whether he is going to start or not. And if I knew that he was going to get 20 minutes against Burnley and maybe 30 against Brentford, I probably would have hold off the transfer until game week 24. And I know it's controversial and it's very easy for me to sit here and say it with Haaland in my team already, but I don't actually think Haaland is essential this game week at all. And if I own Julian Alvarez, I actually would keep him for one more week, roll the transfer, gain more information as I've already discussed, and bring in Haaland for game week 24 at home against Everton. But again, I don't have that issue because he is already in my team. And looking at the other two, Watkins away against Sheffield United and Solanke at home against Nottingham Forest, it's a no-brainer for me to roll the transfer in this team. As we discussed, I'm going to get information about the Chelsea or Arsenal blank in game week 29, and I'm also going to get news on Man City lineup and which players I can realistically bring in for that double in game week 25, as well as that Liverpool double announcement. So my plan is to roll the transfer. The final big question is, who do I captain? So as of the time of recording, I have put the captaincy on the big Norwegian robot, Erling Haaland. But there is, of course, a Pep Guardiola press conference today, which hopefully will give us a bit of an indication on what direction he wants to go in. If he comes out, and I doubt he will, and says Haaland is going to start this week, then of course the captaincy's on him. Realistically, I probably expect him to play 30 minutes. That's the way I'm imagining it to go. With 30 minutes of Haaland against 90 minutes of Dominic Solanke at home against Forest, I think I probably will end up putting the captaincy on Dom Solanke. It's a really interesting game week with some fantastic differential options available, but I feel quite confident putting that captaincy on Solanke this week, whereas weeks gone by, I'd be a little bit worried about the ceiling that he offers. So right now, captaincy on Haaland, but I do think I will be swayed to put it on Dominic Solanke. Outside of that, Cole Palmer, definitely a consideration as well, and one I will give a little bit of thought, but I want to see these press conferences today. So real big game week for captaincy. Let me know who your captain is in the comment section. I'll be really interested to know. Yes, guys, okay, that is going to wrap up today's Game Week 23 team selection video. Thank you once again for tuning into this video. I really hope it's provided some value alongside the Game Week 23 preview that I've done. If you haven't checked it out already, please do check that out after this. Now, I will be back for a deadline live on Saturday morning. It has been forever since I've had time to do a deadline live, so I'm really excited to be back for that, answering all of your questions. So make sure if you're not already, you are subscribed to the channel, and make sure you do drop a like on this video if you did enjoy it. That just leaves us to say, have an amazing day. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Cheers.